ordinary carpenter from Nazareth. He is no match for us. In fact, he's no match for our disciples. We'll send some of those over there, and they'll be able to trip Jesus up. And secondly, they go with the Herodians. Now, we think, okay, they went with the Herodians. What does that mean? Well, the Herodians and the Pharisees were kind of like, the Hatfields and the McCoys. They really didn't get along together. The Pharisees were very Zionistic. They were very nationalistic, and they hated the Roman occupation. The Pharisees were looking for a cataclysmic arrival of a Messiah to rescue them from Roman rule and put Israel back into world political prominence. The Herodians, on the other hand, and they, of course, get the name through Herod, the Herods, the soap opera of Israel. And the Herodians were Roman sympathizers. Now, the reason they did that is because they figured if we get along with Rome, after a while, we'll be able to return rule to Israel. But we have to be sympathizers. We have to be collaborators. We have to get along, go along to get along type of thing. The Herodians really were after what they could get in this day and age. Very different from the Pharisees. And so here these enemies make strange bedfellows. And in this particular case, these two groups have banded together. They figured if one side can't get Jesus, maybe the other side can. And they said, "Teacher, we know that you are true and teach the way of God truthfully, and you do not care about anyone's opinions, for you are not swayed by appearances." Oh, man. The sarcasm just drips off those words. I don't know if they thought they were buttering Jesus up or what, but I kind of picture Jesus, he's kind of nodding his head, and just a little tiny smirk, starts to grow on his cheek, Oh yeah, that's good. You guys, I can tell you really mean that one. So then, tell us then, what do you think? Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? And it's like they're thinking, the trap is open. Jesus is walking into it, and boom, we've got him. So what's the deal there? Why is this such a controversial question? Why pay taxes? Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Well, basically, that's why having the Pharisees and the Herodians there together was their trap. It was a no-win situation. Because if Jesus said it's not lawful to pay taxes to Caesar, then the Herodians could have turned Jesus in as a seditionist. This guy is proclaiming that you should not pay taxes to Caesar, therefore you should seize him and destroy him. If he had said, why, yes, it is lawful to pay taxes to Caesar, the Pharisees would have stood up and say, see, we told you, he's a Roman sympathizer, just like we thought. He's not after your best interests at all. And he would have lost favor with the people, and he would have been of no account. He would no longer be a threat to their power base. They had him. It was a no-win situation. You answer one way, you lose. You answer the other way, you lose. Piece of cake. Trap closed, case closed. Silly Pharisees. Silly Herodians. The only trap that was there was the one that they walked into. Because here's how Jesus answers them. Now, first of all, notice Jesus aware of their malice. Malice is basically an evil intent that somebody has. They were not after the truth, and their fake respect for Jesus meant absolutely nothing. In fact, the opposite was true. He said, "Why put me to the test, you hypocrites?" Now, coming to Jesus with an honest question is wonderful. And I think that's actually one of the lessons from this chapter. If you're confused about something, you need to come to God and say, what is the deal with this? And, George and I were talking earlier about prayer. And he's going to be sharing about prayer with us, and it's going to be awesome. But one of the things that we learn about prayer and we study, and I'm not going to steal too much of his message here, but when we study about prayer in the Psalms, we learn about David's brutal honesty with the Lord. In fact, we're reading some of the Psalms, we're going, hey, David, gee, aren't you getting a little bit too honest here? God's going to like strike you down if you're not careful. But no, brutal honesty. David was that way with the Lord. We need to be that way with the Lord. If they truly wanted to know, Jesus would respond. And he does a little bit later in this chapter, right? But here, he knows they are putting him to the test, which means a test designed to fail. They wanted to see Jesus fail. So he says, show me the coin for the tax. Give it here. And they showed him a denarius. Now, a denarius had an image. Can you see that here? Yeah. They were kind of clear coins. The denarius had the image of Caesar on it. And the idea was that Caesar was divine, and so there was kind of this hook towards a worship of Caesar on there, and so that's why it was so abhorrent to the Jews to have to use this coin because of that connection. So they showed him a denarius, and Jesus said to them, "Whose likeness and inscription is this?" And they said, "Caesar's." And then he says what are some of the most famous words in the Bible. He said, "Therefore render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's." And then he adds, "And to God the things that are God's." And when they heard it, they marveled. And they left him and went away. I think it's great. Trap laid. They're so syrupy sweet with their words. We've got you, Jesus. We just know it. There's no way you can get out of this. And then he goes, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's and to God the things that are God's. And they're going, oh, I got nothing to say for that. It's awesome. So it's interesting to me because in some ways we kind of turn this around, right? We render to God the things that are Caesar's and to Caesar the things that are God's. We think that we can earn God's favor by kind of paying him off. And then we worship the things that money can buy and they become our God. But Jesus is saying, look, you can live on this earth and you live in a society. The society provides you with things like roads and public safety and fire protection. You have to pay taxes in order to support that society and their role. So yeah, do that. And we can go through the whole rest of the New Testament and talk about how it is the role of the Christian to be a law-abiding citizen, including the payment of taxes. And I've talked about this numerous times if you want to check out some of the other teachings. It's very scriptural. But at the same time,